Hi there, my name is Cricket Carey and I'm a senior here at SS Seward Institute. I've been a dedicated member of our school's newspaper and literary magazine club for about 2 years now. It's definitely grown in terms of popularity within those 2 years, but not enough for my standards. That's why I'm making this video. Now you might be wondering, Cricket, why the heck should I care about some dumb newspaper? Those things have become obsolete. I mean, I get my news from TikTok. And yeah, that might be the case, but this is no ordinary newspaper or magazine. The Spartan Times newspaper and the Chronicle literary magazine are unique, original pieces of content made by real students here at SS Seward. But the sad truth of our situation is that there's a good chance you're just hearing about these for the first time right now. So today I'm going to be talking to some of my fellow club members and seeing why they think that the Spartan Times and the Chronicle are something worthy of your attention. And be sure to keep a lookout. Since we're in such a small school, there's a good chance you'll recognize someone you know. I hope you enjoy. What are your guys' names and what year do you graduate?
I'm Abby Orlando and I graduate this upcoming year in 2025.
I'm Maris Newman. I also graduate in 2025.
My name is Sophia Lavelle and I graduate in 2026.
I'm Melina Grove. I'm a senior and I'm the class of 2025.
My name is Georgia Massano and I graduate in the year of 2027.
My name is Ava Andrade and I also graduate in the year of 2027.
My name is Gabriela Campagna and I also graduate the year 2027.
My name is Sierra Grove and I graduate SS Seward in 2027.
When did you first find out about the newspaper and magazine club, and what got you interested enough to become a part of it?
I first found out about it last year, and honestly it was some of my friends that had already joined the club that influenced me to also join it.
Yeah, same with me. Me and Georgia joined the club around the same time, and I think probably Sierra got us involved.
Yeah, same with me. I heard about it beginning of freshman year. Sierra told me about it, and I had already been thinking about it because I like writing, so then her telling me about it kind of helped me.
Yeah.
So I joined pretty much the first month of freshman year. I don't even remember how I found out about it. I think I remember being excited in middle school to join the club because it's a high school club. And I was super excited to join because I've always loved writing and reading, and I think that having an opportunity to have a publication like this in a school is really awesome, and I was really excited to join.
I guess my older sister Melina just told me about it, and it got me really interested in hearing things that she would do and submissions that she made, and I just found it to be really interesting.
So I joined the club in late of freshman year around the spring, and it was actually Maris and Melina as well who kind of inspired me to go because they had been a part of the club, and so I kind of showed up one day and there's that. Yeah.
I also joined freshman year. I joined towards the beginning also because of Melina. We were kind of looking for more things to do, and it seems like something we'd both be into.
I first joined the clubs the beginning of my sophomore year. I knew about literary magazine because my older brother wrote for it, and then I found out about newspaper through Miss Moon's English class. I was interested in newspaper because I like school events and I like promoting them, the ones I'm passionate about, and I like encouraging people to do them next year. And I like literary magazine because it gives you an opportunity to delve into more creative writing that you wouldn't be able to do in newspaper or school. So I think that's really cool.
Before you joined, did you guys know that there was a school newspaper and magazine? And if so, what was your first impression of it?
Well, I knew that there was a newspaper just because I saw it sometimes in the office or sitting around somewhere, but I didn't know who made it or where it came from, and I did think that it was pretty cool though that we had one.
Yeah, I knew that there was a club because I would see some flyers around and stuff, and I think Mr. Lewis sometimes had some lit mags in his classroom, but yeah, I didn't know much about it.
Yeah, I really didn't know much about it, I think, till high school. That's really when I started hearing more things about it and seeing the actual newspapers itself.
So I knew about it beforehand. I hadn't read a ton of it because I think at that point it still wasn't as popular in all the middle school grades especially. But I was aware of it and I was super interested to getting into it. I thought it was really cool, like some of the things that they wrote, not just about things happening in the school, but about like in the community. I thought was really cool.
So I did kind of know about it. I just knew that there was a club and that they were a part of it. But I hadn't, really like read any of its stuff. But my first impression, like the first day going to a meeting, was just like how cool it was. It was so student-led. And I think Gannon at the time, he led it great, and Mrs. Moon as well. So it really inspired me to keep going, especially the next year.
Oh, Mr. Gannon.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like I kind of have the same. Like, I knew it was a club, but I didn't realize like how much was really put into it, and like how many lit mags and newspapers came out in a year, and like how much work really was. So it was kind of cool to like be a part of it and like kind of try and spread the word and get more people in on it.
I think it seemed like a really kind of like niche part of the school that like not a lot of people really knew about, but it was so cool how like everything operated and how people just like really supported each other in like things that they submitted.
And the magazine has been around a bit longer than the newspaper, and since we've all been here a bit longer than the rest of the people in the club, and we've seen some recent archives that have been found from both the newspaper and the magazine, are there any old newspaper articles or magazine submissions from years past that you want to talk about or that are your favorite?
So I personally have a favorite. It was written, I think, back in like 2006. It was called Stephen Petrisco. It was about Petrisco, who was an old science teacher here. He just left, actually. And it's a great story. It's kind of just like an over-exaggeration, like, biography of him. And it's the best. And we also do, in the newspaper, in Lit Mag now, we're kind of just doing, like, I don't know, Blast from the Past. I think I said that one day. I don't know if that name has stuck, but we're doing those. So we'll have to include that one day.
Just look out for some past editions. I think that has to be my favorite too.
Yeah.
Speaking of the past, where do you see this club going in the future? Do you think it'll grow or shrink? Do you think there's an urge to get more members before we graduate at the end of the year?
I'm really hoping we grow as a club. I think this year we've done a lot. We've made big changes. We've started having the newspaper online now, and we've definitely found more ways to distribute more throughout the school. And I just think this year we're definitely trying to get a lot more new members. So I'm really hoping it'll grow.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I mean, I'm hoping that in the future more people will come out and join and submit, because it's fun. I mean, it's not like that much pressure. It's whatever. If you like to draw, you can submit drawings. Like, it's just whatever you want to do. So I do hope that more people kind of realize what it is, and hopefully the club will grow.
So I really hope it grows. We have kind of dwindling numbers right now, but I think that the seniors this year especially, and some of the underclassmen this year, are really putting a lot of effort into this club, and really trying to make it into something. Your video obviously is really great. And for my ISP, I'm trying to make like stations around the school where the newspaper can be found, not just in English classes. And I think that with the effort being put into the club this year, hopefully will inspire more people to join and for the club to grow in the future.
Yeah, I feel like the club might actually expand, because I know my sister's in 8th grade, and I feel like that grade has a lot of like kind of like artsy, creative people. And I think they would actually like be interested, in like joining. So I hope it expands.
Yeah. I know I'm gonna peer pressure my sister into joining. So yeah.
Yeah, I really hope it expands, because I feel like once you join, it's like even better than hearing about it, because like you get like the full experience and like get to actually know what it's all about.
I feel like the seniors are doing a pretty good job of like expanding the club, and I think that hopefully that will continue in later years, because it's like a really special part of SS Seward, and I think it should really expand.
That's good. Do you think there's a risk of it shrinking right now?
I mean, I think it's possible, but that's like why we're doing these type of things, to like advertise it, and I think that will definitely help a lot.
I definitely think we're gonna grow, especially now that it's online on the website. I think that's brought a lot more exposure to us, and yeah, I think it'll do better, and we'll get more members in all the grade levels of high school, and not just
hopefully.
Yeah. And I think it'll reach more audiences, and audiences that wouldn't typically pick up the newspaper or the literary magazine. So,
yeah. I'm glad that you mentioned that we're on the website. I know the newspaper is on the website right now, floridaufsd.org.
On the website, you go to either SS Seward and then scroll down. There's a little section sort of the pull-down menus where it says Spartan Times, and you click on that. Or you can scroll through like the news archives and it'll pop up as the issues of everything.
Thank you. Now, I know you might be a little biased since you're the president of the newspaper club, but do you have a favorite? Like, do you like the newspaper over the magazine, and explain why?
I don't think I have a favorite. I think it's really hard. I think sometimes it switches, like I might favor like one lit mag edition over a newspaper issue, but I think it's really just like both things are creative and both things are, from the creative efforts of students, and I think they're both great.
I do love both, but obviously I am president of the literary magazine, and I do submit more to that because I prefer more of like an artistic approach to it rather than like a news. I guess if that makes sense. Like I love to like make the covers and like read all the short stories and stuff. So I do think I lean more towards lit mag, but I do love both.
I would say I might prefer the lit mag over the newspaper just because it's a little bit more like creative and there's more like freedom in what you can submit.
Now, sometimes in the past, people have actually asked me what a literary magazine is, and I think that's a fair question because newspapers are a lot more popular of a concept. So, do any of you think you can define what the lit mag is and list some of the things that are featured in it?
I feel like the literary magazine, like compared to a newspaper, it's a lot more creative. You have different activities and different like subjects within it. Like there's poems and there's recipes, like she was saying, and it's just like different compared to articles of news.
Yeah, I think for a definition, a literary magazine is just like a compilation of creative things. And sometimes they have a theme, sometimes they don't. We have like so many different creative things, not even literary based in our magazine. We have photography, poems, short stories, playlists, movie recommendations. Sometimes we have like mood boards, recipes, all sorts of things. And it's like a motley of everything. It's great.
Yeah, and in contrast with, say, Warwick, for example, Florida's a lot smaller, so we don't have quite as big of an artistic community. Do you think having a literary magazine lets people see the artistic side of Florida, New York a bit easier and makes them feel more connected to it?
Absolutely, because it allows people to express their artistic side, whereas like anything else might be a little bit more limited. But like with the magazine, it's like a place to like outlet your creative abilities.
Yeah, I think that like the lit mag is good for like people to see that because like we're also writing poems and like other things so they can see that like we're creative and like kind of
Yeah, I feel like Lit Mag really allows like the students to show like kind of like even like show like their perspective on things and like put like their own like little touch into all their work and everything.
Definitely, and I think that our school is like and schools in general are just more like sport heavy.
Yeah.
And I think while that is important, I think the creative arts, whether it's music, writing, drawing, like I think that's just as equally important.
I think it's important just to know, number one, like what's happening around Seward, but also just to be more involved. Because we cover so many things, as in things happening in the town, things within our school, sports, other clubs. I think it's just to know and just to support the community in a way.
Yeah, I definitely feel like it's important to kind of have like the sense of community. We're in such a small school, we all know each other. So I feel like it's cool to kind of see what we're doing, like different articles. Like you may not know what's going on with a certain sports team or something. So I think it's like good to kind of be a part of this and read it.
I think it's really important to like know what's going on around the school, especially if you're not like super involved in like other clubs and things like that. And I think it's important to like know about like the talent that's here at SS Seward.
Yeah, and a lot of the times in the newspaper we have things going on that like I feel like a lot of people don't always realize going on in our school. Like even though we're a small school, we still have like a good amount of events and the newspaper like really highlights that.
I think it's important because like keeping up with things happening in the town and the school is obviously super important, but also supporting young people trying to be creative and putting themselves out there like that, I think is really important. A lot of work goes into the newspaper, and I think just to support the club and support the effort of the students in the club is really important too.
And it's also kind of worth mentioning that the Village of Florida itself doesn't have our own newspaper currently. If you live in Florida and you want to read a newspaper, you would just have to get the Warwick Advertiser, which is kind of weird, but whatever. Do you think that makes the Spartan Times a bit more important, and does it put more pressure on you as a writer?
I wouldn't say it puts more pressure, but I think it is special. I read the Warwick Advertiser every Friday because I like reading the newspaper. But I think the Warwick Advertiser is definitely, focused on Warwick, obviously, and they always, sometimes they'll put in some things about Florida when a big thing comes up, but mostly it's Warwick sports, Warwick school board meetings, Warwick all this stuff. So I think it's cool to have something just for Florida and Florida schools and the Florida community. I think it's a fun thing to do, but I don't think it's pressure. I think it's just fun.
I feel like that does kind of make the Spartan Times more important just because it's kind of the only outlet for news in Florida. But I would say it does kind of put more pressure because I feel like people in the newspaper club have to put more effort in to kind of compensate for that. So yeah.
Who's allowed to submit content to it?
Anybody, literally anybody. If you write in your spare time, if you draw, anybody can submit their work. I know Miss Moon also has a journalism class that has been submitting to our newspaper, so I'm hoping maybe to speak to Miss Duquette maybe and see if we can get some more art into our lit mag, because anybody can submit at any time.
Yeah, and even if you went to a sporting event and thought it was fun, you could write an article for the newspaper about it. But anybody's allowed. We're always looking for more content. How old do you have to be to join either of the clubs?
So the requirement is high school, so any grades between 9 and 12.
Yeah, but middle schoolers can also submit, but actually to be in the club is high school, right?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So that is a little bit of a weird rule, but whatever.
I wouldn't say that the club is too small, but with more members, we would have more variety of content and things that somebody didn't think of. If we had more people, we could have new ideas and fresh content.
Yeah, I mean, the size isn't bad necessarily, and we still put out good work and everything, but I think with more people, we can have more collaborative ideas, and everyone can put in their ideas, and then we can make something even bigger.
Yeah. Anyways, I think that about wraps up all the questions I had for you guys. Is there anything else you'd like to talk about before we go?
I would just say, please join, because we're always looking for new members, and we want to keep this club alive, especially once, we graduate. We hope it'll continue. So yeah, and you don't even have to, truly be a member, just submit. Yeah.
All right, is there anything else you'd like to talk about while I have you here?
Why, yes, Cricket, there is.
Okay, good.
So, the new mock trial team for Seward is started up this year, and we have a conference in December, but this video will be out past December.
What do you guys do in that club?
So basically the state releases a court case. It's a fate court case, but it tells you everything that happened, and then we have to decide who's gonna play who in it. So someone's the plaintiff, people are the lawyers, and the defendants, and then we select a fake jury and stuff like that. And we basically, if you watch Law and Order or something, it's that. We put on a fake trial. And then there's certain days that we compete. I think the first one is March, and we'll compete in front of a real judge, and then with different schools, because different schools have their own mock trial teams. And then the winner, I think, gets to go to Albany.
Ooh.
Yeah. So.
If you want to join, our first mock trial competition is the end of March. And what's also the end of March is the Wizard of Oz. The cast list is already out, but if you want to join crew, set design, we can always use more people, and come see the show March 21st and 22nd.
How much are tickets?
To be determined.
Okay, that's good to know. All right, I'll try and be there. While I still have you, is there anything else you'd like to talk about for everybody?
Sure. So I just have a message for all the underclassmen and the upcoming middle schoolers. Get involved in clubs. I'm in so many clubs and it's so much fun. It doesn't have to be a ton of work. It doesn't have to be like huge commitments. You don't have to join like 5 clubs like I do, but just join something, be a part of something and be involved. And it makes things so much more fun around the school. It makes, stuff to put on college applications for practical purposes, but just join something and get involved in something.
Well said. Clubs are super important. I too am in a lot of clubs. I'm the president of Diversity Club and Art Club. You should join both of those. But I definitely agree because this school is so sport heavy and our clubs need more attention. So thank you very much, Melina, for coming.
You.
It was great having you.
Thank you for interviewing me. I had a great time.
Thank you, ladies, very much for your feedback. Now, I'd like to show you one special interview that comes from our very own club advisor, who happens to be one of the coolest people I know. So without further ado, this is the voice of the one and only Mrs. Moon. So, Mrs. Moon, what is your name and what do you teach here at SS Seward?
So my name is Mrs. Moon. I teach English 10, English 10 Honors, English 12, and Journalism.
All right. How long have you been an advisor for the newspaper and literary magazine clubs?
I've been advising or co-advising over the last 9 years or so.
Okay. Did the clubs ever disband before, and if so, how did they get back together?
So they did at one point not run. For about a year, might have been 2, but at least 1 year, meetings weren't happening, students weren't producing publications, and I think people lost interest. So then, I think it was the following year or the year after, a couple of students actually came to me and had asked if I would consider running the clubs again. So student interest really prompted us to bring life back to the clubs.
That's good. Do you think there could be a risk of that ever happening again?
There's always a risk. That's why it's really important for us to continue with publishing, promoting the clubs, and kind of showing all the positive things the clubs have to offer.
Yeah, definitely. Why is it important that we have creative outlets like these, especially in such a small town like Florida?
So it's important because, like Lit Mag especially, it's a creative outlet for students. It's not just writing, but it's also artists and photographers and other mediums, and students don't always get the opportunity to have that kind of voice.
Yeah.
Same thing with the newspaper. It really is about student voice, what is important to them, what they're concerned about. It's also great for students to get published in high school, so it looks good on transcripts or colleges, and it's just a point of pride. It also creates a legacy. It's a legacy for a generation, but also for Seward itself.
That's such a good way of putting it. Do you have any favorite old articles or editions of the magazine or newspaper worth mentioning, like from that big archive you have?
That's a really tough question because every year there's a few that just really stand out to me.
Yeah.
I do have to say that the last 4 years have probably been my favorite years of running the club, though. There's been the most interest and enthusiasm and excitement, and I've really seen that in the creative work and in the articles that students have been writing. It's about things that they care about or passionate about or just want to have fun kind of with.
That's good. Speaking of the past, where do you see this club going in the future? Do you think it'll grow or shrink?
I hope to see it expand. I always do. I don't ever want to see it shrink. There's a lot of enthusiasm the last couple years and a lot of work going in towards promoting these clubs. So I hope that that continues. I would like to see enrollment continue. I'd like to see more creative ideas and maybe even more opportunities the clubs can offer outside of the school, whatever those may be.
Yeah. So if somebody watching this is interested in joining the club, when and where do we have our meetings?
We usually have meetings every other Thursday in my room, so if anybody's interested, they can always listen to the announcements, or they can ask to join our Google Classrooms, and they'll get notifications. And there's also a board outside my room.
Which people could they talk to if they're interested in getting involved?
Any of our club members would be more than happy, I'm sure, to give them the information, and students are always welcome to stop by and speak to me or email me any of their questions or even submissions. You can submit without officially being a member of a club, and we do have that happen quite regularly, actually.
Yeah. So while I still have you here, is there anything else that you'd like to talk about?
Honestly, I think like taking the journalism class is a great opportunity for students, not only just to become published and understand media, but to be informed citizens, to understand there's so much around the world now about real news, fake news, and being informed helps you be a more productive person and citizen. I also really think it's important for students just to get out and find a club or an activity or a sport to get involved in. There are so many opportunities out there, and you never know where you're going to find your people or your space or your interest until you try. So, ask around, see what's out there, talk to people. Even if you're not sure, show up to a meeting. You never know where you're going to find your spot.
Yeah, exactly. Well, thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to talk to me. It was a really big honor, and I'm glad you were able to make an appearance in this video.
Aw, thank you so much for asking me, and good luck.
Thank you. That just about brings us to the ending of this film. Thank you all so much for listening to all of the wonderful people who participated in this project. I really hope that you learned something new. Now be sure to listen to the morning announcements to get notified when we publish a new issue, and always check your English or art teachers' classrooms as well as the main office to pick up a copy. If you're interested in joining the club, feel free to email or talk to any one of the people who you saw in this video. Thanks again so much for watching, and I'll see you soon.